This session is going to be about simulcast lecture, which is a really big term that basically means casting your live lecture to a distance audience at the same time that you're giving it in class. Our agenda for this little PD is going to be, we're going to identify what is simulcast lecture. We're going to talk about a lot of different challenges and opportunities. That's how I like to frame it instead of problems and solutions. We're going to talk about some best practices and then end with some Q&A. So first off, what is it? As I mentioned, it's pretty much just streaming your face-to-face class live for online participants. It's a way right now for us to maintain social distancing by cutting our class sizes, or at least our face-to-face class sizes. The professor will interact with both the face-to-face and online students in real time. This is kind of the crux of the matter, and the main issue that a lot of people struggle with is interacting with both the face-to-face students and the online students at the same time in real time, especially that second set, because we're all used to interacting with face-to-face students. It's the online ones, whenever we incorporate that into the same context, where people oftentimes start to struggle. So there are four main areas of challenges with this and challenges that we need to overcome. They are design, delivery, engagement, and hardware. When I'm talking about design, I'm talking about actually designing the course and the instructional activities and things like that. Delivery is the rubber meets the road, actually delivering the course. Engagement is trying to maintain student engagement. And then hardware is just what it sounds like, trying to figure out how to actually set up all the technology. So as far as design challenges, one of the main things is that all content needs to be accessible by all participants simultaneously. This means that all of your hard copy printed printouts are gone. They're out the window because you can't give those easily to your online students. But what you need to do instead is to put everything online, put everything in Blackboard or whatever you're going to do. All of your handouts, all of your pictures, all of your music, all of your videos, all of your anything needs to be accessible by all participants simultaneously. Any class activities and assessments need to work for both of those modalities simultaneously. This is another big one because a lot of times people will want to do discussion groups, for example, and those work great face-to-face, maybe not so much socially distant, but face-to-face, generally speaking, those work great. But how do you incorporate an online audience to that? We're going to talk about some opportunities to overcome this, but that is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. Also, content must be delivered to both modalities simultaneously. So your lecture or your video or whatever it is that you are delivering to your course, your notes on the board needs to be delivered to both of those modalities simultaneously. It's that term simultaneously comes up over and over again, and that's kind of the main crux of it, is the simulcast, which is simultaneous lectures. Our opportunities for overcoming some of these, including using digital resources and sharing them in Blackboard. Instead of printing out something for your students, make PDF or a Google Doc and post it in Blackboard so that all students can access it at the same time. Now, can you print it off and hand it to your in-class students as well as posting it online for Blackboard? Yes. However, that's not really equitable because then your online students, whichever students are online, only have access to it digitally now instead of the hard copy. So you have to make that choice for yourself. I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm always in favor of doing the best for as many students as possible. However, keep that in mind. Whenever you're presenting, use your Meet or your Zoom or your Blackboard Collaborate or whatever to share your screen with the PowerPoint with all. So if you have a PowerPoint, don't try and record your classroom with you standing at the front lecturing over a PowerPoint. They will never be able to understand and see that PowerPoint well at all. Okay? So instead, present your screen like I am doing now. They won't be able to see you, which is a bit of a lack. However, it'll be much better for them in the long run. Present your screen if you're doing a PowerPoint or a keynote or whatever, what have you. And also use digital tools that are going to be accessible by everyone. For example, you could use Google Docs. Whenever you're doing writing or you're having students collaborate on some sort of a document, put it into Google Docs. That way both your face-to-face and your online students can collaborate on the same document at the same time. You don't have the break that you would like if you handed out physical hard copies to groups of students and had them complete it. If you're doing like a lab report or something like that, you might have some students in the lab, some students virtually, and then the students who are virtual wouldn't be able to contribute to a printed out hard copy. However, if you use a Google Doc, they can add their own thoughts and their contributions as well. The same goes for assessments. Like quizzes is an example of a formative assessment tool that if you're interested, we can talk about later, but basically it lets you do real-time quizzes that all students can participate in, and it gets you data back on all students, not just the ones that are face-to-face. So there's a ton of different digital tools we could use, and that's one of the things that I would love to talk with anybody and everybody about is basically you tell me what you want to do, and I'll try and find a tool that will let you do it easily. That's one of my main jobs here, is to help with instructional technology. So that's something that we can schedule a time to talk and discuss further. I'm happy to do that. One cool thing about Blackboard Collaborate is that it has digital breakout groups, which can help facilitate socially distant small group discussion. So if I was in Collaborate, I could just click breakout groups and it would automatically randomly assign students into breakout groups, or I could put them in the groups I wanted to, and then it would create individual little breakout group discussion rooms. So they would only have those students, and I, as the instructor, can jump from room to room to room to room to hear what they're saying, to participate, to check and make sure they're actually on topic and doing what they're supposed to do, things like that. So that's one thing that I absolutely love about Blackboard Collaborate that Zoom and Google Meet can't really keep up with yet. So Collaborate is wonderful. If you're going to do Simulcast Lecture, I generally speaking recommend Collaborate over the other two, just because it has those advanced features. And then finally, use Blackboard as a hub. Don't just post your stuff in a bunch of different things. Use Blackboard as kind of the one-stop shop for your entire class. If you're going to use outside resources, wonderful. Link to them from Blackboard. What this does is it kind of creates that one place that students go, and it builds in students the belief and the understanding that, hey, I need to go to Blackboard for all this stuff. Go back to Blackboard. And what's really cool is if we all do it, it builds that institutional knowledge among students that, hey, for every class, I just go to Blackboard. It has all my stuff. When I teach face-to-face courses, everything also goes in Blackboard. Even if I give them a handout there in the class, everything goes in Blackboard, because that way it's the hub and students can access it later. That way it builds that belief system in them that they can come back and Blackboard is the center of it. Even though I personally don't care for Blackboard too much as a learning management system. It's the one that our college is using, so that is the one that we need to use and use for our students. Are there any other type of design challenges that y'all want to discuss that I did not cover? Any questions about any of those?
Yeah, I asked a question in the chat. If we teach a skills class, like I do a foreign language, right, where people rely on seeing my body language, especially my hands, because I'm pantomiming, also on lip reading, is there a solution where I can be lecturing or talking about grammar and have both my body visible and whatever screen I'm using to, like a PowerPoint? I don't use PowerPoint, but some sort of chalkboard type idea.
It's a little bit more technically advanced. What you would use is probably OBS Studio, and then you would broadcast that, and I can help you set that up if you want, but basically it allows you, it's kind of like what they do on like YouTube or Twitch or things like that, where they stream both their face cam and their screen. That is one option. Your other option might be to join with both your laptop and your iPad, and then have your laptop with the PowerPoint, but the microphone and everything muted, and then have your iPad with a camera on you. So it's sitting here as recording me, and that's another option. It's a little bit more challenging since the way that Google Meet does the grid type thing, so you'd be kind of small up there. So you'd have some challenges to overcome with that. But excellent question, Mac. I hadn't even considered the fact that so much pantomiming and body language would be included in things like that. Excellent.
And just for clarification, you said OBS Studio?
Yes, sir. OBS Studio. OBS Studio. I mentioned that in the last one, but I will find the link and I'll drop it in the chat. And thank you for using that back channel. Going forward, I can't see it while I'm presenting. Gotcha. So just yell and holler at me and I'll shut up so you can talk.
And, Josh?
Yes, Peter.
If I could ask a question, piggybacking on Mac. That seems like it could be really useful for communication too, because obviously we talk with our hands and talk with, we're using our bodies to communicate.
I think we lost you, Peter.
Oh.
Okay, there you go. Maybe. Is it just me, or can anybody else?
He dropped for me too.
Okay.
You want to type it in the chat, Peter? Sure does.
I can hear Peter typing. I think
Yeah, I
he just
can
doesn't
hear you
want the
type it.
voice.
Yeah. While he's typing, Julia mentioned...
Because I can hear you typing, no problem.
Yeah, it's...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Hear me fine.
Wonderful. I didn't realize I was typing so loud. I apologize. So basically, computer and iPad, right? Or
that's one option that you have. Yes, sir. You can join with both, and just make sure you mute the microphone and the sound on one of them, so that you don't feedback.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Julia mentioned in the chat that I missed, she used to collaborate with a comp section of first years in groups of about 4 is just about right, which makes sense for online discussion. That way you've got enough people to generate that discussion while also people not being overshadowed and kind of kicked out, if you will. All right, let me jump back.
Sorry, can I just say something real quick
Yes,
too
please.
about that? So what I found also was that if I had the same groups of students in these work groups, they got to know each other, and then they also got pretty good at helping each other out, moving into the conversation if they had connection problems. So one of them would actually have a student who couldn't join with camera and couldn't join with sound, couldn't get her internet to work. She would have that person on the phone in that conversation and just kind of turn the phone to the screen. So they came out with pretty good solutions if they knew each other. So if you put a new group together for every one of those for discussions or something, then they might not be so quick at helping each other out. But if they actually know each other and they have built sort of a work group identity, then it seems they're really nice about finding solutions for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, Julian. You're right. That is an excellent way to build community in an online course, which is one of the main struggles with online education, is building that learning community. So this is one way that you can help with that. And thank you for pointing that out. Mac mentioned that, yeah, remote times, y'all don't have admin on your computer, so you can't install things. What the best thing to do is just open a help desk ticket, and then Justin or Hill South, if you're on a Windows machine, can remote in and get that installed. Or if it's on a Mac, I can help you get that installed. So Justin and Hill South do the Windows stuff, I do the Mac stuff. But if you just open a support ticket, we'll get you taken care of. You're a Mac, so I'll hook you up. Oh, you use a PC. Oh, I see what you're saying. You are a Mac, yeah. So, are there any other design challenges y'all wanted to talk about? Anything about course design, or have we covered most all of it? All right. Delivery. This is the actually talking and speaking and the live part. Interacting with face-to-face students and online students simultaneously in an equitable way is very challenging. We all have a natural bias towards face-to-face interaction. We are all going to naturally, just through no fault of our own, be predisposed to favorably towards the face-to-face interaction, which means that our face-to-face interactions in the simulcast lecture are, generally speaking, going to be much more prevalent than our online interactions. That's just a problem. It's been shown time and time and time again. It's something that we need to be aware of as we think about doing this type of instruction. And also, we need to make sure that our online instruction is engaging for these online students. That a lot of times it's easier for students who are online to kind of sneak by, to kind of just be the student in the back of the class who sits there and is texting on their phone the whole time instead of paying attention. That's a billion times easier online. So we need to make sure that we design our courses in a way that is engaging for all students. So to help overcome this, ready, set, go. There we go. We need to have all of our students sign in to the virtual teleconferencing tool, so the Meet or the Collaborate or whatever. Make sure all the students, both the online and the face-to-face students, sign in order to maximize opportunities for interaction and social learning. Because our classes are split in half, or even smaller in some cases. So if our students in Group A are going to interact with students in Group B, they need to both be signed into that online thing, or else they're never going to really be able to meaningfully interact. So have all your students sign in with the same caveat of muting their microphones when they're not talking, so on and so forth. And then you need to, as the instructor, overcorrect towards online engagement. You need to specifically and purposefully focus on engaging every single online student time and time again. Focus on them to the point that you think, man, I'm overdoing it with these online people. Because in the real world, that means you'll be about the same because of that predisposition towards face-to-face interaction. And also make sure that your classroom management and communication of expectations is a priority. It's very easy to kind of overlook these things, but they become even more important when you have this type of split class, if you will. And if you are doing as Max suggests, and you are actually like recording yourself live instead of doing the screencast, make sure you stay in the frame. Make sure that you are always visible on the computer. Make sure that because otherwise it's easy for the students to look at it and say, well, what's going on? It's just very disengaging for your students if you walk out of the frame or you walk throughout the classroom. Me as a classroom instructor, I always constantly walk throughout the class. I'm constantly using proximity as an instructional tool because I want to be close to students to keep them engaged and keep them on topic. But for this, you want to stay kind of bolted to the front so that you're in the frame at all times. And also provide access to all of your presentation materials, including notes that you take on the board. This is kind of done afterwards. If you are going to write notes on the whiteboard and you're not going to do it digitally, make sure that you provide those in a clearer format for students who accessed it online. Take a picture of it with your iPad and upload it to Blackboard is probably the easiest way. Other options would be, instead of using the whiteboard, use like the Explain Everything app on your iPad or something like that. That's another option. Or you could type up all your notes beforehand and share it with them. Whatever is easiest for you and best for you. I know everybody has different teaching styles. So there's ways to do it with all the different teaching styles. Julia said in the spring she had about 50% of students who'd sign in and then mute and turn off their cameras who didn't even respond to direct questions after the first 10 minutes. I did not make clear that they need to at least respond in chat if asked a question. So, yeah, you didn't make that clear, but that's kind of understood, isn't it? So, yes, I think it's very good to make that very clear to them that they are expected to be on and engaged at all times. You can tie different types of kind of awards and rewards and opposite of rewards to that. Like if you're not responding to questions, then you didn't attend class, so you don't get marked present for that day. I don't care if you're logged in. If your camera's off and you're muted and you're not responding to me, you may as well not be there. Things like that. You could also come with a reward mentality that people who are answering more questions get special rewards or whatever. I'm very leery to attach any grade to that because grades, in my opinion, should be a measurement of student progress, not student participation. However, that is your choice as an instructor if you want to do something like that. Yeah, well, it was COVID. I know it was all a giant mess. At the end of the last half of last semester, we were all making stuff up as we went along. Don't worry. I think that's it. Oh yeah, and record the lecture, post it online. So any students who didn't hear, or if they had technical difficulties or anything like that, post it online. That way they can review it later. That's just super helpful for students. Anything else? Any questions about any of this?
Hey, Josh.
Yes, Lynn.
I might not be really envisioning this exactly like you're describing it, but I'm getting the sense that I'm probably wrong, but I'm getting the sense that in the classroom, everybody's going to be logged in to say collaborate.
Okay.
And that we're all going to be actually working on collaborate. Is that kind of, am I understanding this correctly or no?
That's one possible way to do it. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Doing a lot of talking today. I normally sit in my desk by myself and shut up. Yes, that is one possible way you could do it. For example, this is my classroom. I could have my computer set up. I can't see myself, so I don't know if I'm in the frame. Let me go back. I could have my computer set up, and I'm sitting at the front of the classroom talking to my students, and I've got all my students out there. They're socially distanced, so I've got like 6 or 8 of them in the whole classroom. But all of them are logged into Google Meet or Collaborate or whatever. And I'm writing on the board. If I'm writing things on the board, let me write on my board. This is my board right here. That's my board.
I can't see it.
Say what?
I can't see it.
Exactly. Now, this is worse than yours is going to be because it's a glass instead of a whiteboard. But it's difficult for the online students to see things when you just write them on the board. That's why it's so important that you provide them in another way for those online students. Collaborate has a whiteboard that you can use. So if you're going to use Collaborate, an option is you can switch from the face camera to the whiteboard, and you can write all over the whiteboard. Just be aware that you're now using your mouse to write, which is not the most ergonomic writing tool in the world. If you have a Mac, Catalina allows you to use your iPad as another input, so you can plug it up and write with your Apple Pencil. I don't have a good solution for Windows users other than buying one of those like bamboo pads or something like that. Julia says, does the Collaborate whiteboard save? I honestly don't know. I've never tried. I know that if you save the video, that that it will be saved just as the video, but I don't believe that the actual like board itself is saved. And yes, you can type into it if you want. You can type into it, you can import pictures, you can put PDFs, you can put things like that. Yes, you can type on it. So does that help, Lynn, or am I misunderstanding what you're asking?
No, you addressed it perfectly well, and I guess in my mind I'm just trying to envision, because I don't think we know yet how many people will opt to be online.
Absolutely. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was just thinking it's going to be kind of weird because just what you said, when we're in the classroom, we actually want to interact with human beings in a chair. So I guess if we do it the way that you and I just talked about, it almost seems like it takes away the actual in-seat experience. So I don't know. It seems like that's the easiest way to accomplish this, though, except that it takes away from the actual classroom. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely understand, and there are trade-offs to all of these. I don't know if y'all have seen the website that I made about blended learning methodologies and whatnot. If not, shoot me an email and I'll post it later. But there's a lot of different blended learning I think ways you can go about it. This is just one of them. And I'll be 100% honest, this is not my favorite one. I'm not a big fan of simulcast lecturing for the reasons that you mentioned, among others. However, for professors who are used to just traditional lecturing and things, it's probably the easiest to get into, if that makes sense. So I wanted to make sure and offer professional development on it to help. But if you have the opportunity to do one of the others, such as a flipped classroom or something like that, that'll work instructionally and pedagogically better, but it's more work on the front end, and it kind of pushes you more out of your comfort zone, which we're all already past the edge of our comfort zone right now, it seems, for most people. So I don't want to throw that at everybody. If that is that making sense?
Yes. Can I ask another question? So, like, I didn't do the flipped classroom. I think that might be tomorrow, or I can't remember if I signed up or not. But okay, so let's say I've got like my 10 people in the classroom, and let's say I've got a few people that are doing online. So actually, I could use the online and Collaborate to do like the flipped in the classroom for the flipped, and then I could actually post lectures in another format. Is that kind of how you would envision that? The online people are doing the flipped classroom and Collaborate, and the people that are coming to the classroom are doing it in the classroom?
I honestly, I don't know. I'm not 100% familiar. I don't think I quite understood exactly what you were saying. Generally speaking, here, let me find the link real quick so that you can kind of peruse it at your leisure.
Okay.
I'll drop it in the chat for anybody else who hasn't seen it. But Instructional Models, I've highlighted some of the. I'll just pull this over so we can all kind of look at it together. Some of the more popular ones, Simulcast Lectures there, but you got flipped or the synchronous flip as well. So basically, I've got little diagrams that show you where everyone is. The way that the flipped classroom works is that before class, let me make this a bit bigger. Before class, you've got your lectures. Your actual like lecture and content delivery is delivered before anyone comes to class, and those are by creating videos and posting them on YouTube and then linking to them in Blackboard, like we talked about. And then in class, you don't lecture at all. You just do application and discussion. So for example, if I've got a class that meets Monday and Wednesday, and I've got 20 students, 10 of them will come Monday, 10 will come Wednesday, and we do the same thing Monday and Wednesday with both different groups of students, because all we're doing is we're applying. We're having discussions about what we read, or we are practicing the skills that we covered in these pre-class delivery. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So that would actually be the question I asked before. So we're all logged in to collaborate for the flipped classroom. That way the people that are actually doing everything online are part of that flipped classroom experience, that we're actually having the discussion and we're all doing it and collaborate, the people in the classroom and the people online. And then the material that I would normally talk about in a lecture forum are posted ahead of time. That is
the
sense.
flipped model. That's not the simulcast lecture model.
Okay.
The flipped model
okay.
is that no one is logging in to collaborate. No, not a person
Okay.
logs in to collaborate for the flip model, because you have this dichotomy, this separation of the two. You have the asynchronous videos online beforehand, and then in class you're just doing face-to-face. You have no online participants. The simulcast one, which is the one we're talking about, here's the little thing for that, where you're doing both at the same time. You don't have any asynchronous beforehand. You don't have any asynchronous at all. It's all synchronous delivery. Half of the people show up in face-to-face, half the people log in through Meet or Collaborator or what have you.
Okay.
All right.
Josh,
yes.
Before, so I just want to, I don't know if it's a crazy idea, I just want to run this past you. So what I thought that I was going to do was, I'm setting up what I think is a flipped classroom in one of my courses. But then I thought, because half come on Tuesday and Thursday, that if I did the Google, use the PowerPoint and just recorded the class, that's not taking up space on Blackboard, because it's going to automatically go into my my calendar. And then if the students miss, if they can at least click on one of the days and have that information. Is that...
To make sure I'm understanding, are you covering the same content both days, or is it different content? Okay, if you're covering the same content both days, then that would be more of the, honestly. So if you're let's say that your content is Vygotsky and Piaget, I don't know, on Tuesday, and then you're also covering Vygotsky and Piaget on Thursday. So you've got half your students come to each day, and you're doing face to face. How are you supplementing that so that you meet all of your objectives in the same amount of time? Because right now what that tells me is that you are only able to teach half the content because you haven't teach everything twice.
Right, which is why I've set it up, or I'm setting it up as modules that have all of the content in there. And then when they come to class, we are doing discussions and we're supplementing what they're supposed to be working on in the flipped classroom. Okay,
yes, then you are doing flipped. Absolutely, you are doing flipped, where they are accessing material beforehand in preparation of coming to class to apply that material, right?
Right.
Yes, that would be flipped. You don't have to make videos for that content, that beforehand content. It doesn't have to be videos. That's the most popular one, but it could be just readings and things like that, traditional media.
Right, okay.
So yeah.
I think I've done a little bit of both, but I guess what I was thinking was, the reason I'm looking at this is because I thought, why not just turn on my Google Meet record while on a Tuesday one week and maybe on a Thursday the next, so that students could see the classes.
Absolutely.
But then that's not simultaneous. I see what I'm.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing to do. It's okay. Still flipped, but it's a wonderful thing to do to allow your students to review the class material and whatnot later.
Okay. But I see now why it's not simultaneous, because it's not synchronous.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about classifying everybody's model because there's so many different variables.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back. There we go. So engagement. This was one that gets a little bit more hairy because it's, as I'm sure y'all are aware, it's easy for students, distant students, to kind of tune out if they're not being actively engaged. Because it's generally easier to keep your face-to-face students engaged. You all know that not always, but generally speaking, you can keep face-to-face students more engaged, not the least reason of which is the fact that you are all pretty good classroom instructors. You're good at face-to-face delivery. You've got lots of practice at it. You've developed your skills over time, so you're good at it. Online, sometimes it feels like they can slack off. Because, as Julia mentioned, they can just mute their microphone in their video and just kind of go play Fortnite for an hour and then ignore you. So you just have to watch out for that. So to overcome that, you have a few different options. Keep the me talking part to a minimum. Try and keep the whole me lecturing and talking at you to like chunk it. Keep it in a few minute chunks so that your online students especially don't get disengaged. Your face-to-face students generally will maintain their engagement a little bit longer, but keep the me talking in chunks. Even if you just break up those chunks with a few questions, that's fine. Those questions, you need to make sure you purposely engage every single online student with questions. If you need more questions, plan more questions. But every single online student needs to be asked specific, like multiple questions throughout your course. Otherwise, like Julia mentioned, they'll be gone, and you won't ever know it, or you might not know it. So keep that in mind and let them know from the forefront, just like from day one, just say, hey, I'm going to do this. All of the online students and some of the face-to-face students will be asked specific questions by name. I'm not going to say, hey, does anybody know about who came up with the zone of proximal development? I'm going to say, Julia, tell me who came up with the zone of proximal development and what it means, kind of thing. That way it keeps them on their toes and that kind of thing. So otherwise, it's easy for them to slack off. Also, require all your students keep their webcam turned on instead of allowing them to turn it off. You can use grid view to see all of them. Right now, I see a lot of you have it turned off. I don't know if you're there or not. I'm assuming you are because you're professionals and I like you, but I don't know if you're there or not. Same with your students. It's super. Don't everybody turn it on just to make me feel good. I'm just giving you a hard time. Yes.
We're still seeing your old screen. We're still seeing the flipped screen. Can you refresh your screen real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry, it's been on the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's.
Josh, can you see me?
I'm sorry. Who's talking? I'm trying to present my screen.
Lynn?
No, I cannot.
Well, I've got it on, and it's like on at both
Is your
places.
thing covered up
That's why
still?
I asked.
Is your webcam covered up by something? Can y'all? There we go. Nope, there you are. And you're gone again. All right, can y'all see now? Is this better? Are we on grid view? Everybody can see my grid view? I see nods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was I talking about? My train of thought is completely.
I'm sorry, Josh.
No, you're fine. Can we see? Let's see. Where's my slide? Technology issues. Yay. I'm just gonna keep it here. We talked about engagement challenges, engagement opportunities. Can y'all see that slide?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we talk. Require your students to keep their webcam turned on. I'm just going to move this to the side so that I can see y'all over here. There we go. Require your students to keep their webcam turned on. If a student has, basically, if they have a problem with that, meet with them and obviously, differentiate for your students. If they have a realistic problem and they have a real issue with that kind of thing, work with them and come up with an equitable solution. But as a rule, keep your webcam on. Mute yourself, but keep your webcam on. And if you're not there, bad things are going to happen. If presenting your computer screen, you can join the call with your iPad. So right now I'm presenting my screen, and let me join the call with my iPad. I probably should have done this to begin with. Again, do as I say, not as I do. To That way I can see y'all's wonderful, beautiful faces while I'm also joined with Google Meets. Ready, set, go. And it's joining, and I'm going to mute that and turn my sound all the way down on the iPad so that it does not feedback. There we go, and now I can see all of your wonderful faces over there on the side while I'm also simultaneously seeing my screen. And also lets me check and make sure I'm showing the right screen. Had I had that done, y'all would have not had to tell me that it was behind. So there it is, engagement opportunities. You can also appoint a FacetoFace Champion for your students. Basically what that person does is the person who is in your face-to-face class, and their job is to monitor the online discussion and let you know when one of those students has a question or if you overlook something. Just like Mac did when he said, hey, they're talking about stuff in the chat. I didn't know that, so he told me, and it's wonderful. So you can do that same thing with the student. And also follow engagement best practices, and I've linked those in the notes. Not linked, but mentioned some of those in the notes. Let me find it.
A question, if
yes.
I might. The chat function, are you allowed to send chat between individuals, or is the chatting Google Meet only for everybody to see?
In Google Meet, it's only for everyone to see. In Collaborate, I want to say that you can send individual messages, but they may have taken that away. That was in the beta when I was looking at it. I don't know if that ever made it to the live version or not.
Okay. I'm just wondering because, like, I might want to offer correction to somebody on their pronunciation or what have you, but not everybody else be able to see it.
Yeah, that's
like
a very
how
good point.
Take them aside in class. That was what I was asking.
In Zoom, you can. I know you can in Zoom.
Also, you know.
So if you use Zoom, I know you can. Yes, Peter.
Building on that, I just wanted to mention a couple things. In Zoom, anything that's typed in the chat box can be read by people who are hosting the session. So let's say that you might be using Zoom for whatever reason. If you do private chats between one other person, that private chat will still be seen by who's ever the host of the meeting. I just thought that might be a helpful piece of information, that things that you might think are private aren't actually private.
Yeah. And me, I would tell my students that right off the bat and just say, hey, just let them know. Just because I'm not trying to be the NSA on anybody and spy into their communications. I want to let them know, hey, I see all the stuff you type, so don't call me a bad word in the chat. At least try and hide it better. Text each other or something if you're going to defame my name. Let's find it. There we go. Oops, I never talked about engagement best practices. Down here at the bottom, I just listed several. There's more. Controversial topics, real-life application, giving students agency and autonomy, building relationships, playing games, challenges, awards, so on and so forth. I listed a bunch of things here. There's a lot more. Y'all know them. You're good instructors. So just make sure that you follow engagement best practices, and that will definitely help. So what other engagement challenges did I miss or y'all want to talk about? Somebody's saying things in Spanish, and I know about 4 words, and they all come from Taco Bell. Burrito Supreme, guacamole!
I was just told that my hair is incredible, and I agree. Thank you.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree.
I'm not going to shave or cut my hair until I get a vaccine.
There you go.
Cool.
My wife cuts mine so I can get away with it.
Mine is offered repeatedly, but no.
Yeah, she had to talk me into it a couple years back, but she's done a good job, I think, or at least passable job. Hardware.
So, let's say that you were asking about other engagement things. Just, I apologize if this question is kind of narrow, and we can talk about this later if it turns out nobody else has interest in it. But I'm wondering about my class meets every day of the week, right? Monday through Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, I'm only going to have half the class because of the space that I have.
Okay.
Normally in a language classroom, I have to put people into small groups for practice, because even in a flip situation, that's what you've got to do, is have people orally communicating.
Yeah.
on those days, would you recommend that I have the people who are in seat do work together and the people who are offline work together? Because I think it might be too confusing to have two folks sitting there in person with their iPads talking to people who are not in class that day.
I think that would be good. If you can do it in a way that maintains social distancing, I think that would be the best solution. That way you've got your face-to-face people, because you get more out of face-to-face interaction. We have tools that can help us kind of offset some of the loss that comes from digital interaction and distance interaction, but it's never going to be as good as straight-up face-to-face interaction. We're humans. That's how we were built. So, yes, I would harness that whenever possible to use the face-to-face.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So any other type of engagement challenges y'all wanted to talk about before we continue to hardware? This is the nuts and bolts. The number one problem that a lot of people have with Simulcast Lecture is you must have a camera and you must have an external microphone, not the microphone that is built into your laptop or your iPad. The reason for this is that if you are simulcast lecturing, your camera is far enough away from you to capture you and the board together. That means it's far enough away that it's not going to pick your voice up well, and even if it does, it's going to be terrible quality. So what this means is you have to get yourself an external microphone. I have an example here. This is just something I looked up on Amazon. It's nothing perfect. It's just a tiny little microphone that you plug into an iPad that you could use the iPad to record your voice. You could join with both your devices and use the iPad for your voice. They have lapel mics that have long cords that you could get. You could get wireless ones. There's a lot of different options, and you'll notice that some of these are pretty cheap. Some of them are more expensive. Wireless lapel mic. It'd be about $50 if I had to guess. Yeah, 52 all the way up to however much you want to pay.
So when you say you, expense. So what funds is the college going to use to buy these for us? Because this is an operating expense. This is not a Mac Williams expense.
Yeah, when it comes to this, we can get we have a tiny little technology budget for this kind of stuff, and it's the kind of thing that'll have to be shared. You may talk to department chairs, see if there's any operating funds. Yeah, I know. I had that same face when yeah. I have one you can borrow.
It would seem like this is part and parcel of what we do as an institution, and we need to get a suit to make an approval of this.
I will agree with that statement. Unfortunately, I do not have... I control 0 purse strings. So that this is a known issue that I don't have a perfect solution to.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Okay, the little mic that's plugged into the iPad there. Does it have to be an iPad? Can it be our laptop here?
I mean, that particular mic uses a lightning adapter, so it would have to be an iPad or an iPhone. But there's...
So you could still use a different one. You can still use your laptop.
Absolutely. You can get a USB or USB lapel mic. I have one here.
Well, once again, like the same question from before, if a bunch of us ordered this, could we get a huge discount?
Could you? Probably.
Like if the university collected information about how many people want this, could we save some money that way?
Possibly. I don't know, but I'm in a tough position because pedagogically you need these things. Financially, right. I can't buy them, and I don't want to tell you to buy them because I agree with Mac. This should be an operating expense.
Yep.
So I mean, this is kind of a catch-22 that we're at right now.
Josh, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So the price ranges from $15 to, I see one down below, $80. Would you say the $15 one would work okay for a classroom?
Absolutely. I would read the reviews because there's always going to be cheap $15 ones and there's going to be good $15 ones. Read the reviews. Okay. If you're going to use it on your iPad, that one I linked should work fine. It has great reviews. If you're going to plug it into your computer, get a USB one.
Okay.
Connie, get your receipt for that, and I will find a way to get you paid back for it.
Yeah, keep your receipts. We'll. I mean,
I will find a way to get that paid for.
Phyllis has.
Yeah.
Josh, is an external mic necessary for a flipped classroom?
No, I don't think it is. Again, it depends on how you're going to flip your classroom. Really, all that matters to require an external mic is proximity from yourself to your whatever device is recording. If you're going to be recording yourself from pretty close, then the built-in mic is good enough. Is good enough because we don't have the money to really buy a bunch of external ones. Is it perfect? No. But if you're going to be more than probably about, y'all can't see me. If you're going to be more than probably about 3 or 4 feet away, it's really going to start to drop off real fast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh?
Yes.
Do the earbuds that so many people are using in other colleges, do those have microphone attached to them?
Some of them do and some of them do not. My first one that I used for several years was actually just the earbuds that came with my iPhone 4, I think I had at the time, and it just had a microphone built into the little wire. And that works perfectly fine. I just put one earphone in, it had the microphone that draped down next to my mouth, and I plugged that into my computer, and it worked like a charm. It wasn't fantastic quality, but it didn't cost me anything, and it got the job done.
I noted that. Now, would I need an external if I'm using the computer? It's also wise for that as well.
Comes back to proximity. If you're going to be using the computer while you're sitting right in front of it, probably not. Test it to be sure, but probably not. If it's going to be on a desk 10 feet away, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. And now, let me go back to the presentation. Well, one day, I'll get back to the presentation. There it is. So hardware challenges, how are you going to present your screen while monitoring your students? And you will have technical issues. In Simulcast Lecture, you will have technical issues. However, here's some opportunities. Rule number 1, the first rule. The rule number 1 of Simulcast Lecture is test beforehand. The second rule of Simulcast Lecture is test beforehand. Run through 3 minutes of what you want to do. Test it beforehand. I'll be happy to join your class as a student if you would like, and join remotely as a student so you can test it beforehand. I'm here to help with that. You also have colleagues who could help. If you're not comfortable sharing with me, I'm fine with that. I'm happy to help. I'm sure they'll be happy to help as well. Your iPad works great as a camera, so if you are needing to take pictures of the board, or if you're just wanting to record yourself, like your video parts, you can use your iPad. Join as with the iPad and put the iPad on a desk 10 feet away, and then you can have your computer right next to you presenting your screen or whatever with your microphone plugged into that or something. I already talked about how you can join the calls with both. You can get a cheap omnidirectional microphone on YouTube. Omnidirectional is good because it records all the way around in like a 360-degree circle around you. I see that y'all are still seeing weird hardware opportunity. What in the heck is going on here? Okay, we are going to, as I said, you will have technical issues. It's going to happen. See if I jump to another tab, will that work? Nope, it's still showing Amazon. Why is it still showing Amazon? I'm going to stop presenting and start presenting again.
The all power of Bezos.
Yeah. You don't want to get me started on Bezos. All right, that's better. We talked about how you can join the calls with both. You can get a cheap microphone and basically just tell students right off the bat. Be up front, tell them, hey, this is new to me too. This is new to you, this is new to me, this is new to all of us. So things are going to get borked, and we're fine with that. We're gonna work together and work with you, and we're all gonna make it through. So as I'm in, okay, are there any other hardware challenges y'all wanted to talk about? Anybody thinking technology issues?
Josh,
Yes.
I had a question about the Promethean boards. because I usually share my laptop screen with the board, and I'm trying to figure out how I'll. If I'll be, can you use that at the same time as?
Yes, sir.
So can you use a Promethean board in this setup?
You should be able to. The only reason you wouldn't be able to that I can think of is if it requires too much processing power from your computer, it might require lag, because all the Promethean board does, if I remember correctly, is you plug in a USB cord and it like treats the Promethean as an input, right? Like you can draw on it with the pen and everything.
No, I meant just sharing my screen from the laptop.
Do you share it to like an Apple TV that's plugged into the Promethean?
Yes.
Okay. That might cause some issues. That might make it more challenging. Test it, see if you can. Like when you go to share your screen in Collaborate or whatever, it should ask you which monitor you want to share if you're sharing. So like, for example, if I go to share my screen, it asked me, okay, which one do you want to share? And I said, well, I can't see it, right? I can't show it to you. But it said, which one do you want to share? And I had to pick from a drop-down list. If you're connected to an Apple TV, it should have that Apple TV as an option. With that being said, you're probably going to have a good deal of lag, because now not only are you streaming to an Apple TV, you're also streaming to Google servers, video content both ways, and you might struggle with that. I'm trying to think how to solve that issue for the Promethean boards with the Apple TVs. That's something I'll have to think on and get back to you. That's an excellent, excellent point to bring up, Graham, something that I had not thought about in all of this. Thank you. Let me make a note so I don't forget. Because otherwise I will forget.
I had a music question.
Yes.
Is it possible to play, when you're broadcasting, is it possible to play YouTube clips and let people be able to hear them? Because I heard that there were some issues trying to play YouTube clips.
It depends on the tool you're using. Either way, it's going to struggle unless just due to the simple bandwidth. Because when you're streaming YouTube, it's downloading high-quality video, and it's also trying to upload that same stream of high-quality video to Google servers, and you're gonna struggle with bandwidth to do that.
So I would need to play the music live in the classroom to be picked up by the iPad with the microphone.
That would be good. Yes, if possible. Another option would be to use your iPad to play the music and position it in a way that it can be heard. Does that make sense? Heard by your computer. It's not going to be as high of a quality, but it'll be better than trying to stream and stream your stream.
But my iPad would be the one doing the recording with the camera.
Okay. Can you shoot me an email and we can kind of personalize this? Because I'm going to have to really think about how to overcome that issue.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Graham. And Max said you shot an email. I just got your email. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome. Hopefully we can come to a financial resolution with that. Thank you. Any other questions about this real quick? We're almost out of time, and I don't have anything after this if y'all want to continue to hang out, and I'm happy to talk. So I made this slide. You will have technology issues. You might have technology, not could, you will. You're going to have technology issues. Understand it, accept it, deal with it, and let your students know, hey, we're going to have these problems. We're going to get through it. So real quick, best practices, because I know people have stuff to do. Test beforehand. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Plan the course ahead of time and put all of your resources in Blackboard. All of your resources should be in Blackboard so that they can be accessed by students. You don't have to let them see them all at the beginning of course, but you do need to have them in there so they can access them, whether they're digital or whether they're online or face-to-face. Choose one tool and stick with it. If you're going to use the breakout rooms, choose Blackboard Collaborate and stick with it unless you have a specific reason to do something else. If you want your students to be able to message each other directly, or you want to be able to message your students directly, use Zoom and stick with it, because that's the one that has that functionality, that kind of thing. If you want to go with super simple, pick Google Meet. Be aware you're not going to have some of the more advanced features that those other two have. Prioritize the online group to overcome that natural bias that we all have towards face-to-face, and make sure everybody signs in to that virtual teleconferencing tool, whichever one you choose, even the face-to-face students, and make everybody muted unless they're actually going to talk. Here are some links to tools. I didn't talk about Nearpod because we didn't have time, but Nearpod is a wonderful tool that allows you to present lessons to all devices. It basically takes a PowerPoint and puts it onto student devices instead of having you have a Google Meet where you're sharing your screen. So this might be, we might be able to work with something like this, Graham, but I'll have to play with that some more. But Nearpod basically just takes your PowerPoint or your whatever and puts it onto the student devices instead of sharing your screen to them. And then whenever you advance the slide or go to the next one, it advances it for all of them. And you can also incorporate a lot of like formative assessments and things like that into there. So Nearpod is super. They have a free version that allows you to get like 5 different presentations, or they have a paid one that lets you have unlimited one. That's just something to look into and check out. If y'all are interested, I can talk more about that. Other digital, collaborative communication assessment tools. Tomorrow I'm doing something on digital formative assessments at 2. You're welcome to join if you so desire. And that's the main tools that I would suggest. Any questions, thoughts, comments, cries of outrage? Thunderous silence. All right, well, if you do come up with any questions, or you want help, or you can't, or you just want to pick my brain or brainstorm something, please shoot me an email. I am more than happy to help. I love doing this kind of stuff. I love helping people overcome instructional problems, especially with technology. It's something I'm passionate about. You're not inconveniencing me at all. I love it. Okay? So, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Josh. That was very helpful.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Josh, I have a question.
Yes,
for your digital presentation tomorrow at 2, do we need to sign up for that?
Just shoot me an email and I'll send you the link. It's just to get you the link. You know, I'll post the link here. That way you don't have to actually sign up. Digital formative assessment. Copy. And paste. Thank y'all so much. Have
John,
a wonderful day. Yes.
I'm so sorry. I had a quick question that doesn't necessarily pertain to this, so I didn't know if we needed to leave. So I just thought you asked at the beginning if we had questions from the last one.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to clarify something.
Sure.
So because I'm comfortable using Screencastify for my quick introductory videos, when it gives me the option to create a link or create a QR code, which I then post in Blackboard, that's not taking up any space because that's linking to my Google Drive, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
So those are okay. I was worried because I'd already started putting those in there. I just want to make sure.
Yes, that is perfect, because basically it's just wherever it's housed. It is housed in your Google Drive so that you can link to it elsewhere, anywhere you want.
Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't bombarding the system. Okay,
no, you're good.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. See y'all later.